Welcome to the 2022 edition of the Baltimore SharePoint Users Group. I am your host and organization president, Shadi Q.E. Laser, and today the Q stands for AI and Cognitive Services, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I want to share my screen and get into our announcements for this evening as we have a old yet familiar return of one of our all-time great speakers, and we'll introduce him as we get deeper into this session. So I'm going to go into presentation mode. And this is, as I mentioned, the February meetup of Beastbug, Baltimore SharePoint Users Group. So let's go into the announcement, shall we? Okay, so since we are streaming live to several social media channels, which include YouTube, which includes Twitter, which includes several Facebook groups, thank you to the tech-focused nonprofits and community-based nonprofits who continue to partner with us to broadcast our message and to help new professionals get involved with Microsoft technologies. And so, what is Beastbug? Beastbug is Maryland's longest running Microsoft focused community learning institution. And so some people consider it a user group, but we are more than just pizza, ladies and gentlemen. So when we quantify the numbers over the years, over 1,600 Microsoft focused professionals have been trained and or obtained certifications through introduction to resources from our organization. And this number has increased. There's actually 6 Microsoft practices who were started within our membership. So what this means is members who have attended our meetings over the years, maybe they were laid off, maybe they were ambitious and decided that they wanted to do more with their talents, and they gathered, joined forces with other members within the group and launched their practices, 3 of which have gone on to actually be platinum sponsors at our annual conference, which is the SPS events Saturday event. And so that's the ultimate full circle moment. And so what we're focused on in 2022 is to expand the learning, let's say, avenues and make it more of a facility for learning and doing more community outreach with, let's say, youth groups and focusing on bringing technology to the communities. We're all in a virtual reality at this time and a remote reality for many families. So the opportunity to learn is available, and we want to take advantage of that. So if you are a member of Beastbug and you have, let's say, interest in tutoring or mentoring in any way, shape, or form, then please reach out to me and we can connect the dots. Now, special thanks to the great folks at ProObjects. Once rated as one of the top 100 firms to work at in the great state of Maryland. And ProObject has been a longtime supporter of Baltimore SharePoint. And with part of our reopening plan and returning to in-person events, ProObject will play a major part of that. The reopening plan will be announced in coming months. And of course, we're taking a wait and see approach in terms of how the world is reacting and taking a safety first approach. But at this time, if you are on the fence in terms of your career, you need to make a change, or there are, let's say the writing is on the wall that your contract will end, then the next step is to go to Ted Staley, that is TM Staley at ProObject.com. Thank you to Ted for your dedication over the years and spending your off time to make sure that our start of our meetings are coordinated properly, and can't thank you enough. Thank you to ProObject. Moving along. We live in uncertain times. And so we want to make sure that we, as a user group, as a community, as a learning facility and institution, are providing resources for our members during this time. And so the Beastbug Golden Rule is, if you are a member of a user group, so let's take Baltimore SharePoint out of it. If you're a member of a user group, that indicates that you go above and beyond. You're going on your own time to learn about stuff you're going to do at work. That is a special characteristic. And so we want to make sure that the resources that we have access to, from the recruiters to the job boards, job requisitions, contracts, are available to you. At our in-person meetings, there's a reason why we don't allow for, let's say, commercials or infomercials to be ran during our meetings. It's because you're coming from work, you're coming from a contract, you're coming from a job search during the day, and you're traveling to our meetings, and we honor that. And so everyone's tired at the end of the day, and no one wants to hear a thinly veiled sales pitch. And so, but that does not mean that recruiters are not looking for new candidates. We want to connect those dots. So that ties into our golden rule. And what we're doing during this time is you have access to free career and resume review sessions through June 1st, 2022. So if you're a member of Beastbug, the Beastbug Nation, then you have access to free resume and career review sessions through June 1st, 2022. So do not suffer in silence. Do not wonder if your resume is up to par. Reach out, the email's here, and would love to help you get to where you need to be professionally. Now, as I mentioned, there's 5 practices that went on to, let's say, launch through Baltimore SharePoint, and maybe your number 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. And so there's a resource available within, let's say, Greater Maryland, and it's known as SCORE. SCORE is the nation's largest network of certified business mentors, and it's free of charge. It's a government resource provided in part funded by the Small Business Administration, which is the governing body of small business in the United States of America. And so within, let's say, our region, Greater Baltimore, there are up to 6 SCORE centers ranging from Howard County, Columbia, on over to Hartford County, in all points in between Baltimore City, Baltimore County, all have SCORE centers, and SCORE is providing remote support during these times. So phone, email, and video sessions. So if you are a developer, architect, project manager, administrator, and you want to become self-employed, then SCORE helps you with the business planning aspects. Maybe you know how to, let's say, use the SharePoint framework, but you have no idea how to write a business plan. That's where SCORE will help you. And so the website is greaterbaltimore.score.org. Next is call for speakers. So break, fix, lessons learned, featured presentation. Your session can be 5 to 15 minutes, or it can be a featured session, which can be anywhere from 45 to 60 minutes. There's no limit. And many of the great speakers started out at user groups, and we want to extend that opportunity to you. And so, call for speakers is available. Please get in touch if you want to deliver a session. Now, without further ado, I bring to the stage longtime Microsoft most valuable professional. I bring to the stage a senior developer. I bring to the stage longtime speaker and co-organizer of this thing we call SharePoint Saturday Baltimore. One of my favorite people in all of the SharePoint world. Ladies and gentlemen, discussing AI and cognitive services for Microsoft 365 developers and information workers, I bring to you Prashant Boyer. Unmute yourself, sir.
Thank you, Shadid, for the warm and a lovely welcome. Let me start sharing my screen. Okay, let me find out where to do that. Share screen.
At the bottom.
And let me know if you can see it. I am running my deck in the presentation mode.
Okay, so far you're, there we go. Now we're up and running.
Perfect. Let me also do some things regarding the video. I just want to see the chat as well.
Oh, yes. So I will also assist with the chat.
Okay. All right. All I see right now is I'm a little bit new to the Zoom in terms of navigation, so bear with me. Just trying to find what's the best way to Zoom. All right. Here you go. Not this one. Cancel. Minimize this. All right. Here you go. Perfect. Okay. So we are back. So thanks, Shadid, for the warm welcome, and welcome everyone to the session titled Introduction to AI and Cognitive Services for Microsoft 365 Developers and Information Workers. Who am I? My name is Prashant G. Boyer. I was born and raised in India, came to the United States in 2007 for studies. I am University of Maryland College Park alumni. I co-authored a book, PowerShell for Office 365. I also acted as a technical reviewer for the book Pro SharePoint 2013 Administration. I am from Washington, D.C. area, and earlier I used to live very close to the Baltimore SharePoint user groups location. But since 2016, I moved to Northern Virginia, but still you will be seeing me whenever we will be having the in-person Baltimore SharePoint user group. Just like Shadid, I also run a few user groups. Some of the user groups are focused on AI, machine learning, big data, SQL, and also on Microsoft 365. And just like Baltimore SharePoint user group, Baltimore SharePoint Saturday, we also organize some other community conferences focused on AI and machine learning. If you're interested finding more information about that, definitely go to azurecloudevents.com. Here, typically we announce the dates, and since the COVID-19 pandemic has started, we have converted all our conferences to virtual only. That means you can join us from anywhere in the world. I am recipient of Antarctic Service Medal. I got this award from US government for the work I did in Antarctic continent back in 2008. And as Shadid mentioned, since 2017, I'm also recipient of Microsoft MVP Award, and my current category is AI. And those of you who are not familiar with this award, so I don't work for Microsoft. It's just the additional recognition that Microsoft gives out to the folks who does technical contributions. And these technical contributions can be in the form of organizing various community conferences, answering people's questions on various public forums, writing blog posts, creating training content, creating training videos on YouTube, contributing to the open source project, or providing direct feedback to the Microsoft product group. And this award is typically valid for 1 year. And after 1 year, you have to submit your contributions. And if your contributions are good enough, then Microsoft will give you this award for additional 1 year. So I'm getting this award since 2017, and for a couple of years, my category was Microsoft 365, or especially SharePoint. And since 2019, I changed my category to AI. However, one thing I would like to highlight is Baltimore SharePoint Saturday was my first in-person SharePoint Saturday event, and that's how I got involved in the community. Shadid and Enrique that time were very kind enough to welcome me with open arms. Someone like new who just doesn't know like what is SharePoint or what are SharePoint Saturday events. So I then got into the community event, started attending the Baltimore SharePoint user group meetings. Then after 1 year, got a courage and then start speaking. And that's how I got involved in my community activities. And after 3, 4 years, then someone from Microsoft was kind enough for to nominate me for the Microsoft MVP award. And that's how I started with my MVP journey. However, one of the biggest advantage of getting into the community is the networking you will make. Like I have made a lot of lifelong friends throughout my community work. That includes not only speaking but also attending and volunteering at events. And also you get to learn and get to interact with other people and hear their perspective around some of the technology challenges they are facing, and also how they can grow in their career. So highly recommend. I know like majority of you who are attending here are already familiar with what are some of the values that community event bring. But in case if you're watching this recording later, I highly recommend you to get involved in the community, especially ever since the COVID-19 pandemic has started. We kind of lost that water cooler or coffee room talks with our team members. Since everyone is remote, and especially if you're working for a company where 100% of the work is done remotely, try to see if there is a user group nearby. And since now, if you have internet, you can pretty much join any user group in the world. I highly encourage you to join any community. And it doesn't have to be just focus on technology. If you like hiking, if you like, let's say, sports, there are different communities you'll be finding on meetup.com and some other social media groups. So currently, I work as cloud solution architect at AIS, where I focus on intelligent business process automation, where I use variety of the products and services in Microsoft ecosystem, such as Microsoft 365, SharePoint, Microsoft Power Platform, Azure, Azure AI, and bots. And I work at AIS, Reston, Virginia headquarters. And AIS is in the business of providing services in Microsoft ecosystem from last 40 years. And AIS has been recipient of Microsoft Partner of the Year award on multiple occasions. And AIS is growing. We have a lot of open positions. So if you or anyone in your network is located either in US, Canada, or UK, you can pretty much apply to all the open positions we have. And you will find the latest and greatest information about open positions at careers.ais.com/jobs. So this is just a small list of open positions. If you go to the career website, you'll see a lot more. And if you have any questions about any particular position, just hit me up on LinkedIn, or you can just email me as well, and happy to chat about some of the benefits of working at AIS and also some details about the open positions. So this is going to be the agenda for today. It is going to be a 100-level session. We'll talk about the approach. Then we will dive into what is AI, what is machine learning, what are Microsoft Cognitive Services, how you can get started with that. We'll have lots of demos, key takeaways, and Q&A. Even though I mentioned Q&A towards the end, feel free to ask questions at any time because I prefer an interactive session. And along with Shadid, I'll be monitoring the chat window. So feel free to post your questions in the chat window, or if you can unmute yourself, just unmute yourself and ask those. So the approach we're going to be taking in this session is, so this session is geared towards non-data scientists. And the target audience is developers, IT pros, or power users. So if you are a data scientist, then you may not get much value from this particular session. So before we dive into AI, it is really, really important for us to level set, like what is AI and where we are in our AI journey. So this is the definition I got from Google's AI researcher, Francois Cholet. AI is nothing but an effort to automate intellectual tasks normally performed by a human. And just like a lot of other people, when I first heard about AI, the first thought that came into my mind is Skynet, or machine traveling different planets and destroying different planets. So there is a hierarchy in AI. Let's see about that. So there is a first hierarchy is strong AI, where machines are so powerful, they can destroy planets, they can travel across the galaxy, they can also invade other planets. Now, strong AI right now exists only in science fiction movies and novels. Then there is a second category called artificial general intelligence, where machines are very, very intelligent and they can perform really, really complicated tasks, which are difficult for an average human being. One of the examples I can give you here is if you have seen Marvel Comics franchise called Iron Man, there is a main character called Tony Stark. Now, Tony has a personal assistant called Jarvis, and Jarvis is very intelligent. He can perform really, really complicated tasks, and Jarvis falls under AGI. Again, AGI right now only exists in sci-fi movies and novels. Where we are at VKI, where we have specialized services for specialized tasks. And one of the service you are seeing on the screen is real-time speech-to-text translation. So right now, I'm using an out-of-the-box feature that comes with Microsoft PowerPoint, where I'm speaking, and this particular service is translating my speech into the text that you can see on the screen. However, if I go back into this particular service, and if I go here and if I change the settings, right now everything is getting displayed in English. If one of you or some of you in the audience speak Spanish, so let me convert that to Spanish now. And let me begin. So if everything is working right, this particular service should translate the real-time words I'm speaking in English into the Spanish. And if you can validate, chances are whatever text that is getting displayed in Spanish is maybe around 90 to 95% accurate. So this is where we are in our AI journey as a humanity. And we are working really hard to go from VKI to AGI and from AGI to strong AI. And our biggest bottleneck is processing power. So the more processing power we have, the sooner we will be moving from VKI to AGI. And these are some of the services or some of the concepts that you may be heard that all relates to the AI. So the reason I had this slide here is because when it comes to implementing AI in the enterprises, you should have a realistic goal in terms of what are the services available today and what are the services I can use to create an application that will not be like over-promise and under-deliver. So this is the mission statement of Microsoft. They would like to make data science and AI accessible to everyone. And it doesn't matter what your role is, where you are located, and what kind of device you're using. And some of the services that are coming from Microsoft aligns really well with this mission statement. So the core services of AI in Microsoft ecosystem are part of Azure AI, where under scenario-based services or under applied AI services, we have bot service, cognitive search, form recognizer, video analyzer, metrics advisor, and immersive reader. Under customizable AI models, we have vision, speech, language, decision, and open AI. And if you would like to create your custom machine learning model, then we have Azure Machine Learning. And you may have heard about SharePoint Syntax if you are familiar with Microsoft 365, or Power Virtual Agent, or AI Builder if you're familiar with Power Platform. So behind the scene, all these Microsoft 365 products or Microsoft Power Platform products also use Azure AI services. So not only we are using it, but different product groups within Microsoft also uses the Azure AI services behind the scene. So if you're interested getting started, these are some of the links you can follow, where if you're interested starting with cognitive services, you can go to azure.com/cognitive. If you're interested starting with bots, you can go to azure.com/bots. And if you're like me, like when I started getting into Microsoft AI stack, I had this question, like there are so many services out there, which service is for me, depending on my skill set. So this particular flowchart may help you. What you would like to do, whether you would like to build your own machine learning model or not. If you're a data scientist and if you would like to build your own machine learning model, then Azure Machine Learning and corresponding services are for you. If you are like me, who's more interested in consuming what is out there, then the cognitive services or applied AI and bots are for you. Now let's talk about bots. I will not be going a lot deep into bots because last month we had a really nice presentation from Labrina, and she gave a really nice overview of the Power Virtual Agent. So this is just a high level of overview of what are some of the options available to us in case you are interested in creating chatbots or virtual agents in your enterprise. So in Microsoft ecosystem, we have two options: under platform as a service and under software as a service. Under platform as a service, we have Microsoft Bot Framework, which is an open source SDK and tools. It is built for custom bot development. The target audience for bot framework is developers, and you can create custom bots using C#, Node.js, Python, and Java. However, if you are planning to host your custom bots using Azure Bot Service, then only C# and Node.js is supported. What does that mean is, if you are using Java or Python to create your custom bots using Microsoft Bot Framework, then you have to host that bot yourself somewhere else. You cannot use Azure Bot Service for that. Under software as a service, we have Power Virtual Agent. It provides a no-code experience for bot development. It's ideal for business users and domain experts to easily build a bot. And behind the scene, it uses all the AI services which are available under Azure AI, and it also built on the top of Microsoft Bot Framework. However, you as a creator of the bots or virtual agent don't have to worry about that at all. There is also another offering from Microsoft called Microsoft Dataverse for Teams, which provides a low-code platform for Microsoft Teams. And it supports to build low-code, no-code apps, flows, and most importantly, chatbots that will only work within the context of Teams. And the license for Dataverse for Teams is inclusive in most of the existing team licenses. What does that mean is, if you really want to get into chatbots, and if you have access to Dataverse for Teams, you can use Power Virtual Agents for free to create a chatbot. Only caveat is that chatbot will only work within Teams client. That means you cannot access that chatbot outside of Teams client. It's a really great way to get into the chatbots and trying out whether the chatbot really makes sense in your organization or not. You can do a quick pilot without having to sign up for the premium or standalone version of Power Virtual Agent. Now, this is the high-level overview of machine learning. Towards the beginning, I mentioned this session is not geared towards the data scientist, but this is just to give you a high-level overview of machine learning, what exactly it is and what are some of the things that we have to do to have a working machine learning model. So what we basically do in machine learning, and this is again the high-level overview, is you typically will have a huge amount of data, and that data will have some kind of pattern. And then we will use a machine learning algorithm of our choice, which can help us to identify that pattern. And then we will basically use that model and integrate that with our application. And then we'll feed a new set of data that from where we will be identify the similar pattern exists or not. So this is like a high level overview where you will have a huge set of data, and that data will have some kind of patterns in it. Then you will use machine learning algorithm of your choice. And that algorithm will help you to find patterns in your existing set of data. Now, once you do that, then you will generate a model from it. And then your model will help you to recognize the patterns in the new set of data. And then you will integrate your model with your custom application. Now, this step is really, really important. And you will be feeding the new set of data to your custom application. So what this particular thing tell you is, not only you need data scientists to create the model, but that model somehow needs to integrate with your custom application. Let's take example of a driverless car. So in that, we also need a machine learning model which we can identify the images and other stuff and help the driver while in navigating the car. However, that particular machine learning model has to work with an application, in this case, a car, so we can have a really meaningful application. So this particular slide will tell you we'll always need a combination of team where you need data scientists, but we'll also need developers or citizen developers who can then use those model and create a meaningful application for you. These are some of the popular machine learning algorithms are available, and you can go to this particular link to find more information about all these algorithms and read some more literature on Microsoft site. Now let's talk about what are cognitive services. So cognitive services are pre-built services which are available to us as a REST-based endpoint. And it's really, really easy to use. Anyone can use cognitive services, whether you are a developer, IT pro, or a power user. All you need to know is what is the URL of your cognitive service and what's the subscription key. If you have those two information, then you can use that cognitive service with any platform or any programming language or any tool of your choice, as long as that platform, programming language, or tool allows you to consume REST-based API. There is a tons of documentation available on this pre-built cognitive services. where we don't have to worry about the machine learning model. We don't have to worry about training the data set. Everything is handled by Microsoft. All we have to do is sign up for the service, get the key, and start using that in your application. And again, if you run into any issue, you can always post that question on Stack Overflow, and Microsoft is paying people to monitor that and provide you the answers to your questions. So if cognitive services are nothing but a REST-based API, where can we use them? Any application that can consume REST-based API. For example, if you are a developer, you can use that with JavaScript application, console application, .NET application, Java-based application, iOS application, Node.js, Azure Logic apps. If you are not a developer, then you can use that with low-code, no-code tools such as Microsoft Flow, SharePoint Designer 2013. I know it's a deprecated product, but if that's the only tool you can use to create automation, then the SharePoint 2013 Designer 2013 workflows allow you to consume REST-based API, and you can also use there. Since it's a deprecated product, I don't recommend using that anymore. But if you don't have any choice, you cannot use Power Automate or any other tool, you can definitely explore SharePoint Designer 2013 and see if you can use that to consume cognitive services. You can also use that with third-party tools like WinAutomate, UiPath, Blue Prism, Nintex, K2, WebCon. So any tool that allows you to consume REST-based API, you should be able to use that with cognitive services. So what are some of the practical applications that we have seen in our life when it comes to AI and ML? So these are some of the practical applications we can build in the enterprise space. For example, if your company has a large number of employees, then you create a custom model, machine learning model that can give you information on some of the recommendation on training needs, resourcing need. You can also get information on process improvement. Text analytics is highly used service, which is available under language services or cognitive services, where we can use that service and create a really meaningful applications for the enterprise space. For example, if your company is big in launching the product, then you can use that for product reviews. One of the biggest use case I have seen is if your company has a huge set of legacy contents in form of on-premise SharePoint or file share, and if you would like to move that content to a new storage location that can be either in cloud or some other CMS-based system, then instead of doing lift and ship, you can use text analytics to automatically classify the content and use that classification information to decide which content should go where. Now, some of the things Microsoft has already done as part of the ready-made option as part of the SharePoint syntax. The SharePoint syntax behind the scene uses the same concept, and they use behind the scene the same cognitive services that are available to us. However, that product comes with additional license that you had to buy. But in case you would like to create a crude version of SharePoint syntax, that is possible using the cognitive services and custom code. So with that, let's go to the demo of the cognitive services. Before that, let me see if there are any questions in the chat window. All right.
Any like questions that you have, make sure you add them to the chat.
Okay.
Going once, going twice.
Thank you. So what I'll be doing here is I will just be resizing my browser window here so that the subtitles are also visible. All right. So if you are using multiple screens, you can follow these steps along with me. So go to your favorite browser and go to your favorite search engine and just search for Microsoft Cognitive Services. And this is the link we are looking for, Microsoft Cognitive Services API for developers. One thing I forgot to mention, just like Microsoft has cognitive services as part of pre-built AI services, some of the other big vendors also have the similar services. For example, IBM has the similar services under the brand name Watson. Google has services under Google AI APIs. Amazon also has that. Oracle also has that. So most of the major vendors you will see these days have a pre-built AI services which are available to us, which are very easy to consume, and you just have to know how to use them, and you can start creating intelligent application. So in this case, we'll be focusing on some of the services available in Microsoft ecosystem. So let's click on this particular link and scroll down. So here you will be getting information about what is Microsoft Cognitive Service. And if you scroll down, Then here we have nice segregation of various cognitive services that are available to us. So those services are configured, categorized into 5 different categories like speech, language, vision, decision, and OpenAI. And by default, speech is selected, where we have speech to text, text to speech, speech translation, speaker recognition. If I click on language, under language, we have entity recognition, sentiment analysis, question answering, and conversational language understanding, which is under preview. And we also have a translator. Under vision, we have computer vision, custom vision, and face API. Under decision, we have annotator, content moderator, and personalizer. And under OpenAI, we have OpenAI service. So for this particular talk, I'll be only focusing on language service because it's really hard for me to cover each and every service in the span of just 60 minutes. So let's see. So under language service, if I click on entity recognition, then this is the page that you will be going where if you scroll down, then you will see the information about this particular service, what exactly the service do. You can see a video here. And then if you scroll down, you'll see some additional information about how to samples, which are some of the major companies which are using this service. You'll also see the pricing information and some code samples and everything else. But one thing you have to keep in mind, to use cognitive services, you will need access to Azure. So that means to create this service, I need to have access to Azure. So for that, let's go to the Azure portal here. And I'm logged into my Azure portal and just click on create a resource. And here, search for the language. And the thing we are looking for is the language service. So under language service, click on create. And then these are different default features we can use under language service. We can do sentiment analysis, key phrase extraction, pre-built question answering, conversational language understanding, which is under preview, name entity recognition, text summarization, text analytics for help. And these are some of the additional custom features we can also select. For example, custom question answering or custom text classification and extraction preview, which is under preview. And then click on create your resource. And here we just have to mention few different things. For example, what is the resource group? Now, if you are looking at the Azure portal for the first time, then don't get worried. This is just a few configuration things you have to enter in case you don't have access to Azure. And if your focus area is only Microsoft 365 and Power Platform, you can work with your IT team and just ask them to create this resource for you. So all they have to do is go to the Azure portal, create a text analytics language service. So here the resource group is nothing but the logical grouping. It's a logical grouping where you can add various resources that can be either language service or your network settings, your Azure functions, a storage account. Then you have to select the region. So make sure you pay extra attention while selecting the region because depending on what region you select, you may get different results for the specific service that you're using. For example, since we are creating a language service, and if I use, let's say, other location, for example, Brazil or some other location in Asia or some Middle Eastern countries, I may be getting a different results as compared to what I typically get in the US. Okay, there is a question from Dan. I will come to that once I create this resource. This is an excellent question. What is the difference between Azure Cognitive Services and AI offerings available under Power Platform, for example, AI Builder, Power Virtual Agent? So here, let's give it a name. Let's call it as BSPUG. BSPUG and AI services. Now here we have to use the pricing tier. So each service will come with a free tier and a paid tier. If you're using this service for the first time, I highly recommend you to use the free tier because once you go with free tier, you don't get charged for anything. However, the free tier comes with a limitation that we can do 5,000 transactions per 30 days. But it's a good way to get started with this where you don't have to pay any money. The free service will come with one caveat too. You can use free service once per subscription. For example, if I scroll up here and in this particular subscription, if I have used this free service already, then I cannot use it again. I had to go with the paid one, which is the S. And then you have to accept to the legal terms. And also you have to accept the responsible AI notice. Microsoft is really big on making sure you're using Microsoft AI services responsibly. And then next is click review and create. And if everything is fine, then once you click create, this service will get created. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and create this service because I already have created one. So let's go here. So once you click create, this is the page you will get redirect to, where you will be on the overview page. You'll be saying what's the API type, what's the pricing, and what's the endpoint of your service. Now, the two most important things that we need before we can start using this service in our custom application. So for that, just click on keys and endpoint in the left-hand navigation. To use this service, all we need is we need the endpoint URL and we need the subscription key. So the moment we have this information, we can start using this in any application of our choice. For example, if I go and just copy this, and I'll be copying this, but I will not be showing this on the screen here, because if you know my endpoint URL and if you know the key, then you can make these calls on my behalf, and I'll be getting a charge for it. So okay, let me minimize here and move it. Okay, and that's it. Then I can start using this with any application of my choice. And if you're totally new to this, just scroll down, click on overview, scroll down, and here Microsoft, you'll see some documentation on. If you click on develop, then here you'll see some information on Microsoft, where if you click on classify text and if you click get started, then you will get redirected to some of the samples that are available in on microsoftdocs.microsoft.com that you can follow and start using this in language or application of your choice. So the first demo that I will be showing you is using a Microsoft Power Platform, where I have created the sample application where I have a SharePoint list. And what we are doing here is we are using this SharePoint list to capture the feedback. And once someone enters the feedback, then we have a Power Automate created. And this Power Automate runs behind the scene. And then it takes the feedback, send that feedback to the text analytics API. And whatever the results come back, then it adds that result back to the SharePoint list. For example, let me get started. Let's call it as BSP UG 2022. And rest of are doing amazing job years in organizing and supporting this community. And what we'll be doing is we are leaving this sentiment score language and key phrases as a blank. And the moment I save this feedback, the flows in the backend will kick in, and then it will make the call to the text analytics API to detect the sentiment, to detect the key phrase values, key phrases, and also come up with other language information. So for example, the flow here, detect language. So if you see its implementation, if I click and edit, where the implementation is very, very simple. This flow starts whenever a new feedback gets added to the feedback list. And then we are using an out-of-the-box action called detect language. And here, all we are doing is we are providing the name of the column in this particular SharePoint list, where we are capturing the comments. And here, if you click on these three dots, that's where we are configuring the connections. If I click on add a new connection, I have to just give it a name, so I can call it as a BSP UG. And then I have to provide the key, and I can get this key from my Azure portal here. So if I go back to my Azure portal, this is the key we are talking about. And then another thing we have to do is we have to just provide the URL, and this URL we can get from this particular location. Only these two things I need to provide, and rest of the things will then get taken care by this particular action called detect language. And then whatever the languages that are coming as a response to this particular call, then we are just getting that information and adding that back to the language column in this particular list. So if I do a refresh here, so looks like some of the flows are still going. So the sentiment score came back, and let's see the implementation of sentiment score. The implementation is quite safe, straightforward. This particular flow starts whenever a new item gets created in the feedback list. And then the action we are using is called detect sentiment. And for that, we are providing the value of the text is from the column demo comments. And then here we are configure the connection to the text analytics API. And whatever results come back, then we are just adding that back to the sentiment score field. Similarly, we are doing for the key phrase extraction. The action we are using is key phrases, and we are providing the text via the column called demo comment. And here we have provided the connection string for our text analytics API. And whatever the key phrases come back, then those are getting added to the SharePoint list item in the column called key phrases. So let me go ahead and refresh this again. So far, sentiment score has been came back. Key phrases, this time it came back as Shadid. And we're still waiting for the language. But as you can see from the other example I have, which is number 86, the language came back as EN. EN stand for the English language. And the way sentiment score work is sentiment score shows you whether a statement is the written text is positive or negative. If the written text is positive, then the sentiment score will be towards 0.99 and closer to that. If the written text is negative, that will go towards 0.01. Now, since this is like 0.89, that means this statement we have is fairly positive. But this was a quick and easy implementation using the combination of low-code, no-code tool like Power Automate and cognitive services. Now, coming back to the question on Dan, which he asked, like, what are the differences between the cognitive services that we have and the AI builder? Because in AI builder, we can do the similar operation. For that, what I would like to do is I would like to go back to my slide deck here and bring back the slide that I have previously. So the way the cognitive services work is you need to know how to use that service, like using custom code, or in Power Automate, we have action available to us. However, those, like if you are not a developer, then sometimes you may find that, okay, this particular using an API key, using the URL is a little bit cumbersome for me. And it's not that intuitive for me. And that's where Microsoft introduced AI Builder in the Power Platform, where behind the scene, it still uses the cognitive services, but you as a user are shielded from it. Like you don't have to go to Azure portal at all. Like I have seen a lot of enterprises where the citizen developers or the low-code developer doesn't want to deal with Azure portal at all, or you may not be having access to Azure at all because Azure is handled by some other team, and you may be your team may be only responsible for Power Platform. In that case, you can use AI Builder, which is available as part of Power Platform, and it will be coming up with different licensing, where you don't have to worry about Azure at all. You just have to go to your Power Platform portal, use AI Builder, and you can use the same kind of functionality that I showed you now as combination of cognitive services and Power Automate. But since it's an additional service that Microsoft has created and made available to us as a user-friendly service, it will come with some licensing cost, and also it will have some limitations, and those kind of limitations you will not be seeing if you go directly with cognitive services. I hope that answered your question. If you have any follow-up question on that, please post that in the chat window. Now let's go back to the deck. So we saw a quick example of how we can use this cognitive service using the Power Automate. Now let's see how we can use the same service as a developer. So as a developer, if you would like to use, then you can use that with any language of your choice. The language I'll be showing you here is the C#. And this is the way you will be making the different calls to extract different information. If I would like to extract the language, then the call I will be making is the URL of my language service /text/analytics version 3.0 and then /languages. So that will give me the language that the text is written. If I do the same thing if I need to do the same thing for key phrases, Then my endpoint URL will be the URL of my service /text/analytics version 3.0, and then /key phrases. Same thing we'll be doing for the sentiment as well. So let's take a look at that particular demo. So for that, I will need to start the Visual Studio. And while the Visual Studio is loading, feel free to ask any questions that you may have in the chat window. Okay. All right. So this is the project that we'll be using. Perfect. So as I mentioned, this is going to be the URL of your different calls that we'll be making. For example, for the sentiment, to extract the sentiment, this is going to be my URL, this is going to be the URL I can get from Azure portal for my language service, then /text/analytics, then version, and to extract the sentiment/sentiment, to get the key phrase /key phrases, to get the language/languages. And the way this console application work, and you'll find the source code available on my GitHub site for this particular console application. Okay, let me move this here. So the implementation is very straightforward. All I'm doing is I'm going to my C drive, and there I have these two files, test.1 and test.2. Let me quickly open that. And in these two files, I have, in the first file, I have this particular 3 statement. Microsoft is awesome, AI is awesome, and cognitive services are awesome. And in the second Word document, what I have is I have the same contents written in Spanish, just to show you how exactly these services work. And what we'll be doing is we will be executing this console application, and you will be reading the contents of this document, 2 documents, and then sending the contents of this document to the text analytics API. And whatever the results come back, we'll be basically posting that on the console here. And the way I created this application is a simple console application I created, and then I went here and added a NuGet package. And the name of the NuGet package is Microsoft cognitive.lewis. And you can download that. And once you download that, then you can start making the calls. So let me run this application in the debug mode, and I will quickly show you the output on the screen. So let me go through it real quick. All right, and this is the output we got. So let me post on another screen here, and let me maximize this. So this is the information that came from, okay, let's go from the bottom. So this is the information about language. So the first document, the detected language is English. And when it comes to machine learning or any AI service, it will always come with some confidence score. For example, how confident that service is in terms of rating the results. So in this case, the confidence score is 0.86, which is fairly high. So in first document, the service is currently predicting that the language is written is English. Now the second document, it is detecting the language is Spanish, and the confidence score is 0.86. That means the text analytics API is correctly detecting the language that both the documents are written. Now, when it comes to the key phrases, so the first document, the key phrases are cognitive services, AI, and Microsoft. In the second document, the same kind of things are coming, but the language, the key phrases are written in Spanish. Now, when it comes to the sentiment score, we are getting the sentiment score here for respective the statements we have. But using this information, then you can quickly decide which document is in which language, what are some of the key phrases, and then you can decide where that document should reside, whether it should reside in the same location that where it's currently, or it should move to another location. So that was a quick overview of how we can use this cognitive services and use that in the context of the custom code. Again, the entire source code is available on my GitHub profile, and you can go there and find that out. Now, one of the key things you have to remember is this the data that Microsoft has used to train this pre-trained AI services, you don't have control over it. For example, if you have a specific use case where the results that are coming from these services doesn't work, then you have a choice where you can use Azure machine learning to build your custom model. And you provide your custom data to train that particular model and deploy that model as a web service. So if you are into data science and if you would like to create a custom model, I highly recommend you to check out Azure machine learning because not only it gives you a platform to create your model, train your model, but also it gives you a platform to deploy your model as a web service. So then your developers can go and start using your model as a web service and build intelligent application. Now, in case you would like to get your hands dirty with Microsoft 365 products, especially some of the products available in Microsoft ecosystem, such as SharePoint Syntex or AI Builder in Power Platform or Power Virtual Agent, this is a really good way to get your personal Microsoft 365 developer trainer, where all you have to do is go to docs.microsoft.com, go to this particular link for Microsoft 365 developer program, sign up for it. And once you sign up, you get your personal Microsoft 365 subscription for free. It comes with E5 licenses and it comes with 25 users, and you will be a global admin. And this particular, and E5 is the highest level of license you can get in Microsoft 365 ecosystem. And it comes with Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, Teams, Planner, then Power Platform products such as Power Apps, Power Automate. You can also use the same tenant to sign up for some premium features as well. For example, Power Automate Premium, Power Apps Premium, Power Virtual Agent Premium. And as long as you are using this tenant for personal training and development, Microsoft will keep renewing this tenant for after 90 days because the initial validity is 90 days. And if you're using this tenant for personal training and development, Microsoft will graciously increase that trial period for additional 90 days. And they will keep on doing it as long as this program is active. So I am using a tenant from this program from last 3 years. So imagine you can have your own tenant where you'll be global admin and you can use that for your personal training and development. Another option is to sign up for 1 month trial. And to use Azure Cognitive Services, you will need access to Azure. And there are various ways to get your personal Azure subscription. My favorite one is if you have access to MSDN, go to your MSDN portal and see your subscription qualifies for some free monthly credits. If you do, definitely sign up for that because there you don't have to use credit card. In case you spin up something in Azure and you consume your $150 credit in the first day of the month itself, all it will happen is your subscription will be disabled for the rest of the 2019 days. But come the next month, again, you will get the same $150 credit and you won't get charged for anything at all. Another option is you can use your credit card and sign up for free trial. And depending on your country, you get some fixed credit for free, and then you have to use that in a specific time period. There is another program from Microsoft called Azure for Students, where you don't need a credit card. All you need is a valid EDU account. And if your school is participating in Microsoft Azure for Student program, then you may get $100 of credit. And again, that depends on the country and depends on the school. And here you don't need to use credit card at all. So hopefully the contents we covered today made you explore Azure Cognitive Services and Azure Machine Learning, and you will go home and play with it. And if you don't have access to Microsoft 365 Developer Tenant or Personal Tenant, definitely check out Microsoft 365 Developer Program. So with that, these are the things we covered today. These are some of the references I use. And these are my contact details. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to chat with you. If you have any specific questions, you can always email me as well. With that, it comes to an end. Thanks for joining us today. Stay safe and healthy, and let me know if you have any questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, Prashant has delivered the magic of AI for our audience. Make sure that you go to his LinkedIn profile and connect with him. Leave him a recommendation in terms of how you enjoyed this presentation. And one key takeaway from this session, the resources in terms of Azure for Students or the developer tenant are tried and true resources. I know he's been using the developer tenant for a couple of years at least. So the fact that he shares that so openly is definitely great. So thank you for taking the time to deliver this great presentation. And yes, please come back whenever you want.
Yep. Thank you. And definitely looking forward to the in-person event. Like hopefully once we'll have a good handle of the pandemic, hopefully we'll all can come together and meet at SharePoint Saturday Baltimore event.
There you have it. There you have it. So going to wrap up for this evening. The recording of this session will be available on YouTube and also emailed if you're on the Baltimore SharePoint mailing list. So on behalf of Prashant, I'm Shadid, and then thank you for tuning in to this month's meeting.
Thanks, everyone. Stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.